Hey guys, welcome back to another Cultured Boys discussion. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan, and today we're going to be talking about Choujin X. Yay!
Oy.
For those that aren't too familiar with Choujin X, it is a manga by the same mangaka that created Tokyo Ghoul.
Yes.
I can't remember, you said you haven't actually watched or read Tokyo Ghoul, have you, Nathan?
Nope. I just know Unravel. That's it.
That's the only thing. But yeah, you've actually read it before. You've read Choujin X before, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and this is my first time reading it. It's quite cool reading this manga, like especially because I think when it first launched, everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's the Tokyo Ghoul mangaka! Like it's gonna be the biggest work." And I was like, oh, "Okay, fair." I haven't actually finished Tokyo Ghoul RE or whatever it calls whatever
hmm
the sequel series was. Because I think it just got to the point where like all the manga apps stuff started happening, and it was like so I
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
actually keep up to date with it as much. So I just ended up just dropping off of it. But this is on the Shueisha Plus app, so it's actually quite easy to read.
Yes. Yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
funny because I didn't know this was the mangaka of Tokyo Ghoul until I did the research like yesterday, and I've
Oh
read this
yeah, yeah.
series since like obviously because of the burnout, I dropped off at some point, but
Hmm.
like I read this like day one, but it's funny that you're like everyone's like, "Oh man, it's a Tokyo Ghoul." I don't remember seeing any of that. I just remember
That's
like
interesting. Yeah.
seeing, "Oh, cool, there's this new manga, Choujin X. It looks alright. I'll give it a go." But the thing is, like, before we do breakdowns and stuff, like, I genuinely don't remember hearing a single thing. Like, I feel like this one has like flown under the radar a whole lot because like I
It
hear
really
no
has.
one
Yeah.
talk about this at all.
No, I don't really see much to talk about either. Like I remember, like I said, the only time I've heard the talk about it was at the start when it got announced that it was being published, and I was like, "Oh, okay, fair." And like I saw that it was still getting chapters on the Shueisha Plus app, so I was like, "Oh, it's still going."
Ye-
And like, so, like it must be doing well at least. I don't know how often the chapters come out. I assume it's like maybe monthly or whatever.
yeah, it's monthly.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into that. We'll get into it a little bit. Do you want to do the breakdown, and then we can kind of talk a bit
Sure.
more about the series?
So, as we mentioned, created by Sui Ishida, the mangaka of Tokyo Ghoul, published in various Young Jump comics from May 10th, 2021 to present, 11 volumes as of recording. The latest from Sui Ishida. Sometimes to fight a monster, you must become one. It seems to have been caused by a Choujin. However, strangely enough, the plane was not damaged and there were 200 survivors. High school students Kurobara Tokyo and Higashi Azuma are on their way home from volunteering to help with the incident when they are suddenly tangled up with a delinquent they have a history with. But is there something different about him? Now this is gonna be from bit controversial. I was hunting around for a breakdown, a very succinct
Yes.
one.
Uh
Uh it's very hard to find one. So this came from ChoujinX.net. Support the official
huh. Right.
release. I don't
Interesting.
know what affiliation, but support the official release. I'm just gonna say that. But this was the most succinct one I could find that wasn't like 4 paragraphs long. Or
Oh, really? Wow.
it was either 4 paragraphs long, where they basically break down the whole first chapter as the synopsis, or unhelpfully from Manga Plus itself, where it just says the latest from Sui Ishida, mangaka of Tokyo Ghoul. Choujins exist. Choujins are monsters. That's it. I'm like,
Ah, okay,
what?
yeah. It's like it's like they at that point they're just like going off the hype. That was the only thing they had to go
Yeah,
off of. They were like, don't know what the
literally.
actual description. We just put the hype.
But the thing is, like, they didn't even rewrite it. They literally, that's it. It's just like a sentence long, and it's like, oh, the Tokyo Ghoul mangaka. Oh, what's a Chojin? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like even with that Chojin. X.net description, it feels very focused on the first chapter as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's like
Because it's
the
yeah,
last half of the chapter.
it is, isn't it? Yeah, like it just like the second chapter kind of goes into it a little bit more, don't it? How many
Yeah,
chapters of this have you read? Because I only got up to like 11 or 12.
I
So,
don't remember exactly, but I do remember being fairly far on. I
oh
just
yeah, yeah.
reread the first chapter just to refresh a
Okay,
few
yeah, yeah.
details, but when I
Mhm.
stopped reading, I must have been at least 30 or 40 chapters in.
Right, okay, yeah. Because like, again, this started in, like, 2021,
Mm.
and going for, like, a while I think it's got almost 100 chapters now. It's
I
got 96 by the looks of it.
Yeah, I must be around halfway.
Mm,
Last I remember.
yeah. It kinda does that thing where, like, it has, like, chapter 60, but, like, in 2 parts,
Yeah.
but spaced across 2 weeks, so it's, like, one of those ones where I'm like, "Oh, okay, like, is that a story thing, or is it, like, whatever, I should stop looking on the app because it's obviously has pictures as well, and I don't wanna look at
The release schedule
that."
is like sometimes it's like a fortnightly one and then it's like a monthly
Yeah.
one. It sort of just comes out
Yeah.
when it comes out.
I don't know what the whole publish schedule with, Young Jump is,
Well, that's the thing
but
because
yeah.
it's been in 2 Young Jump comics. Right now it's in weekly Young Jump.
Right,
So
okay.
its schedule changed, but before it was in a different one. I don't remember. I think it was like Toran or Young Jump.
Because it looks like it's, weirdly enough, coming out, like, every yeah, it's weird. It it looks like it's coming out, like, every week or every 2 weeks, or sometimes it's 3 weeks. Like, it really varies, like,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's like, oh, it's 10 days between it, and then other times it's like, oh, it's 7 days, or like it's 3 weeks. It's weird. It's a really weird one. But regardless, I kind of went into this, kind of expecting a very similar story to Tokyo Ghoul.
Mhm.
Obviously, especially when you read that description, it's like, oh, sometimes to fight a monster, you have to become one. And
Yeah.
yeah, I know you've never read or watched Tokyo Ghoul, Nathan, but it is also a very similar concept. The only
Okay.
difference is, like, I don't know, with with Tokyo, he kind of he he chooses to become a Chojin a little bit,
Mm.
like only when he's pushed to it. But in Tokyo Ghoul, Kaneki is kind of like he just becomes one. He doesn't have a choice in it. He just becomes a fucking
Oh,
ghoul, and
okay.
it's like yeah. So like it's and very similar concepts of like oh there's like this is like oh the Chojins exist and they've just been running havoc like around like everywhere in Japan.
Mhm.
Whereas Tokyo Ghoul is like, oh, like ghouls exist, just fucking stay away from them. They're evil, or like they're completely like blanket, like stay away from them.
Okay.
Fucking, they'll eat
Oh,
you.
okay.
um, yeah. So it's like very similar concepts, but you can kind of tell like, oh, this feels in some sort the same line as Tokyo Ghoul, you know what I mean? But what I
Fair.
do prefer more about Chojin is it feels like there's a bit more comedy coming through in this compared to Tokyo Ghoul. Like that's
Okay.
I feel like there's like a few reactions which feel like, oh, okay, it's quite funny here or there. Like I don't know what magazine Tokyo Ghoul was in. It might be because it's a Young Jump comic, this one, that they like made it a bit more
It's
lighthearted.
funny though that it's in Young Jump though, because like when you look it up and it's like even I mean, and I can tell from reading it, it's in Young Jump, but it's seinen, so
Yeah.
it's for the
I
older
mean
crowd, but it's it's in Young Jump. I'm kind of like, well, okay,
I mean, even Tokyo Ghoul was in Young Jump, apparently. So, like, and I'd definitely class that as a silent kind of like horror kind of like dark thing. So,
I don't know, man. No.
yeah, yeah, but very similar theming throughout this, which is quite funny.
I mean, if it's same mangaka, it makes sense.
I think it's like it's been published since like 2021.
Mhm.
And I'm quite surprised like an anime hasn't even been announced for it or something, because I feel like this is like this feels like a good series, like
Yeah, it's a good
whatever else.
series. But it's just I feel like it's like really unknown
Yeah, I don't know how it's gone so under the radar in comparison, like to a lot of other stuff.
because like when I was first reading it, I remember telling people like, "Oh yeah, I'm reading this series, Choujin X," and like I
Hmm.
would tell people about it, and I most of the time I'd get back like, "Oh, I've never heard of it." So that's why the fact that you said like, "Oh, there was all this hype because Tokyo Ghoul," and but I'm still like, but you mention it, and most people are like, "I've never heard of it." Like, what is that?
Arguably, though, I guess you could kind of say that because arguably Tokyo Ghoul didn't really get the recognition until it was an anime. I
Fair.
guess like that. I guess it would be a very similar thing. Like, arguably, the manga has kind of flown under the radar a little bit. However, like unlike some like mangakas that have had a really big work and then go on to a second one, like say like Kishimoto, for example,
Yeah.
he obviously finished Naruto and then went, okay, here's another manga, and then it just died after like what was it, like 2 volumes or something, like 20,
Yeah.
like 40 chapters. So like, but I think it kind of shows that like this mangaka, like this manga actually has legs. You know, it has legs, and it's a very consistent story. It's that kind of story that you could see. I could even see this being in Weekly Jump. To be honest, like this is something I could actually see being there.
Honestly,
Um,
because of the way this was early on when we had to swap, to the official app,
mhm.
and
Mhm.
that was before we learned like, oh yeah, sometimes they just put stuff from other magazines in there. So as far as I knew back then, I was like, oh cool, it's this is in Shonen Jump. This is weekly Shonen Jump. Like cool,
Oh,
wicked.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like I think that was actually one of the first ones I learned the hard way that it was like not in Weekly Shonen Jump because I
Yeah.
was like, I read first chapter and then I was like, cool, I can't wait for the next chapter. And then the next week I was like, hey, what? Where's my thing? Where is it? It's not in the. It's
Yeah.
not in there. Why?
Why is it not releasing on the Sunday like all the rest of them? Like
Yeah, and then it came out like like the next month or whatever, or whenever the next chapter was, and I was like, huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I get it now.
yeah. How do I say this? It's very similar in terms of art style as well. But I found Tokyo Ghoul's art style to be a little bit more like chaotic and a lot more bloody as well. Whereas this feels like kind of scaled back compared to Tokyo Ghoul. It feels easier to look at. Some people probably disagree with me and be like, "Oh, you're joking. Tokyo Ghoul's art style is like iconic and stuff like that." And arguably, yes, there are some really great panels in Tokyo Ghoul, but I think what Choujin has, it looks a lot cleaner. I think there's some really
Mhm.
cool stylistic choices in this as well. Like it just feels a lot easier to read in comparison, though, I'd say.
Rereading the first chapter is it's a lot cleaner than I remember because I remember when I first started reading Choujin X, I was like, I seem to remember having some sort of issue with the art style, but I don't know what my problem was back then. Because again, like I literally just reread the first chapter and I was like, that's fine. It looks fine. It looks pretty good actually. Like it's a little like when it needs to be, it's a little on the rougher side so that it like adds to the chaos of the scene. But
Yeah.
generally, it's not really actually that messy or that bad. So I really don't know what my problem was back then. I guess because I was going from a lot of those more like less chaotic series with the very defined like lines and stuff. I just distinctly remember being like, I'll keep reading this because like the story seems like it might get cool. But I remember being like, I don't know about that art, and I still can't
There's
figure out why.
I think it is like it's a distinct art style with it. Because when you look at it, it's very like how do I say it? Like it is a little bit messy, but like there's some clean things here and there. The reactions are a little bit like over the top as well, which I think that's what I
Yeah,
really like about this. Like, I mean, that's one thing when like in Tokyo Ghoul, like you can tell that this transfers over because there's that crazed look. when there's a battle or something, or like there's a darker scene, like the facial expressions that are done in this, it's like, oh, this guy looks crazy as well. He's like he's going psycho mode, like.
So, it what where have you gotten to? Like, what's happened in the last chapter you read?
So right now there's that guy who has the baseball, who's like obsessed with baseball,
Oh,
like he's a
okay.
baseball
Yeah, yeah,
player,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he has the I think it's a sinking power. I think it's called, like he's a sinking Choujin, and like he's kind of like working with this gang to like break into banks and basically steal a
Yeah,
bunch of
yeah, yeah.
money,
I remember now.
and
Okay.
now he's uh I think the gang have turned on him, and now he's gone into that full baseball monster thing, where like it's literally like a baseball with a mouth, and he's like
Yeah,
just
yeah.
throwing just all sorts and that. So like that's the
Okay,
bit that I've got
okay,
up to. So I'm in the middle of that battle. That's what's going on
okay.
right now. It'd be cool to see if that's a character that joins them. I don't know. You probably have more idea. Like no spoilers, because I probably do.
I
I really do intend on reading more of this.
uh,
It's a fun one.
I I know what happens,
Yeah.
and I just wanted to know because I'm like, I remember things, but I was like, I should ask before I say something because I'm probably
Mhm.
remembering quite late things. So I don't
Yeah.
want to accidentally say something and then it's like,
You know,
oopsie.
like I like part of me, like if this was like maybe 10 years ago or whatever, I'd be like, oh cool, this is the new character's gonna join them. But like since reading like JJK, like my everything about like, oh, this character's been introduced and like it looks like he's gonna be really good friends with the rest of the car. It's like, no. Anything could happen. JJK's like just put me like, yeah,
Well,
I don't
yeah,
trust that at
we've
all.
read more series, but from this point, so it's like you can't be that naive anymore.
Nah, I'm like expecting like especially if like a darker series like this, I expect a few twists. I hope so anyway. But I guess I'll see if that really comes down to it. Like so like rereading the first chapter for you, is this kind of like would you want to get back into the series at all? Or are you kind of like I know you said you got the burnout still, or like
I
compulsion.
do want to continue reading. I just need to figure out where I was
Yes, yeah.
because I distinctly remember having read a really important part. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
I just started a new arc or a new thing in the story. And I think I just sort of stopped somewhere in
Yeah.
that story. And I'm kind of like, dang, that's gonna be a pain because I'm either not gonna have access to those chapters or I need to reread something beforehand because
Yeah.
I you know when you just like you shouldn't pick up in the middle because you're gonna be like, I don't know what's going on. I
Yeah.
don't remember who is who and why.
Of course, yeah.
But I remember where I was. It was kicking off. So yeah, I at the very least I want to finish off that. But then hopefully, by doing that, I end up just finishing like getting up to date anyway because it's a good series. I've really enjoyed it
Yeah.
since day one.
Yeah.
Despite my like reservations and sometimes I found some of the chapters a bit like hard to follow and early on I struggled because Tokyo is not he's he's too much like Shinji from Ava, like like a reluctant hero. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
he's got the power, but a lot of the times he's like, "Oh, I'm too scared. I don't want to do it." And then you're like,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake, dude, you're like the only one. We're following you. You're the only one. Everyone else is like getting behind their decisions, right? And it's almost every time he's like, "Oh, I don't, I can't, I'm
Mhm.
scared," and then he ends up having to do it anyway, and then he feels great because he's like, I did it, oh, I'm a hero," and you're just like,
Yeah.
for fuck's sake, for
I
fuck's
think he's
sake.
yeah, I need to see what exactly Tokyo's powers are in this because, like, right now we know he's the
Vulture,
Vulture Trojan,
yeah.
but like apart from having like agility, I don't know any other thing that he has. Like apparently, like you remember, like I don't know if you remember where he gets into the fight with the snake Choujin.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "Oh, cool! I've got these powers." Because he goes, "I'm gonna go full beastification or whatever,"
Yep.
and then he punches, and then the snake's just like, "Uh huh." Like it doesn't affect. And I'm like, okay, so he doesn't have like a super strength or whatever, but apparently it did affect the snake somehow. Like apparently that's like I don't know, like so maybe he has upgraded power like compared to his human form. Obviously, I think there's a given that he has some kind of power upgrade, but not significantly enough to actually do damage.
Yeah,
But
he's
his main thing is the agility, like in the
basically like at least where you are, so
mhm.
far his abilities is just like the boost from being a Trojan.
Yeah,
He hasn't actually figured
yeah.
anything out.
Nah.
And so really all he has is like the increased durability, he has his speed, but that's it. Like they're just kind of boosts from being
Yeah.
a Trojan. It's not even Trojan specific. A lot of what he can do at the moment, he's just most of the time he relies heavily on the fact that he's a Trojan and he's a little more durable because he gets his ass kicked all the time.
Oh, a lot, yeah. And, I think that's, like, why I think it does work, though, because 'cause you've got that secondary character, Ellie,
Yes,
the smoke Trojan,
yes,
like which I'm quite curious at how she's got her powers because obviously there was that smoke Trojan that was in the plane,
yep.
but now she somehow also has the powers, which I think just by, like, association by the sounds of it, I think that's how they kind of explained it, weirdly.
I don't even remember if it gets explained. It might of, or they were exploring it. But yeah, like Ellie's cool and is a strange one.
Yeah.
Well, because like in the first chapter, like Tokyo and Azuma, they inject themselves, and the that delinquent injects himself. So
Yeah, yeah.
you're like, oh,
Mhm.
that's how you get Trojan powers, right? Or you that's how people turn into Trojans is because they get injected with this thing. But Ellie's like the only one that's seemingly had
Yeah.
nothing to do with that.
Yeah, but has inherited another user's power while that user is alive as well, so it's like,
It's like
what?
heroes.
Like yeah.
Peter Petrelli.
Yeah. God, I haven't watched that in so long. I haven't watched it. I feel like part of me is kind of like,
Yeah,
maybe I should go
but
back to that, but yeah, that's
yeah, it's
news.
like Peter Petrelli in it. She just sponges it up, but just the one power.
Yeah. Yeah, just one pound. Fair, fair. Uh, but what a comparison! I was not expecting a heroes comparison in this. I don't think I've
Well,
actually thought about heroes in like a while either. So I'm like,
I
fucking
I
hell,
could have
yeah,
made another reference that would have been even closer,
yeah.
but it might not have made as much sense because I don't think you played that game. So
Okay, yeah, no, probably. I don't.
I could have made an infamous Second Son reference because the main character also starts off Dev actually starts off with smoke powers, but
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
that's even more than those. Then okay, fair enough.
but you didn't play the game, so heroes it
No,
is.
no, yeah. Yeah, that one I can kind of vibe with. I didn't get too far into Heroes, but like I got like 3 seasons in. It's when it started dipping. I kind of like
Well, I mean
yeah.
I know it had 4 seasons, but we don't talk about the fourth one.
Okay, yeah. That's away from Heroes. Maybe that's the conversation for another day. Um, But I wanted to mention as well, like another bit that I found quite good was I think it actually is in the second chapter, and it's about Ellie and like how she's trying to escape the smoke man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and like there's all these like fucking sheep people on bikes, which is hilarious for one. Because I'm also seeing that I'm like, wait, are these real sheep or are they like kind of like, are they Choujin? What's the crack with these guys? Like, because they're all the same. They're just a bunch of sheep
Yep.
bikers. I have no idea what the crack that is, whether it's masks or actual sheep or people or I don't know what that is.
I don't remember, but I think at the time I just assumed they were Choujin.
Yeah, I've just accepted that they're there, and like
Yeah.
the fact that they like this Smoke Man turns up and he's like, "I'll give you this mobile phone if you go catch him." And they're all like, "Ooh, a mobile phone, that's quite cool. Ah, I've always wanted a mobile phone." And then they all start chasing after her because they like mobile phone. I want a mobile phone. Which is like, what the fuck is this? And then there's like I think even before that bit and he tries to get away on like a scooter, like an
Yeah.
electric scooter. And then he's also like, "Yeah, I'm also on an electric scooter chasing you." And it's like this intimidating, like, antagonist, this smoke guy who has like this crazy expression on his face on a scooter. And it's like, this is the kind of stuff like this is what I mean by like, I feel Choujin X does comedy that which Tokyo Ghoul just never touched. Tokyo Ghoul was just very much straightforward, like freaking ghouls fighting darkness, like all that kind of stuff. Where this actually feels funny. This actually has some really good like little comedy snippets here or there amongst all the fighting. So I think like on first impressions, if I were to go for Tokyo Ghoul on like the first few chapters, I know you haven't read it, so please bear with me, Nathan. But like in the first few chapters of Tokyo Ghoul compared to Choujin X, I feel like I'm more. I if I had to choose between the two, like Choujin X is actually the better series earlier on. However, obviously, I don't know how it is later on. I also don't know necessarily how Tokyo Ghoul gets at the ending as well. So, uh, like,
Fair enough.
yeah,
I mean, I feel like that unintentional sense of humor does continue, but there's
hmm
a large chunk of the middle that I'm kind of like blanking on right now. It's been a
oh,
while. It's been like a couple years. So like it's sort of I think until something jogs my memory, I won't remember what happens unless actually what I'm remembering happens like a little bit after what where you are. But I feel like I'm blanking on a lot of the middle bit, like
yeah.
somewhere just between where you are and where I left off.
Like, roughly when do you think you stopped with it? Was it, like, around, like so you said
I'm
chapter 30, so that must have been, like
I
what was it,
think
like,
around
2022
this
sometime? 2020? Yeah.
somewhere in the middle. So it could be from 30 to 50. I'm
So,
not
like, roughly
entirely sure.
at the end of 2022, basically, like, kind
Yeah.
of that around that area, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fair. So it's been, like, all well, 2 years, 2 and a bit years
Yeah. Two
since
and a
you read
bit
it,
years.
yeah. That's understandable, yeah, I think I'd forget a lot of stuff if I haven't read a manga in, like, 2 and a bit years, like no, I do completely intend to keep watching though. I think I'd have really enjoyed this.
No,
Watching,
it's a
reading.
good series. It is a really good
Yeah.
series because the bits I do remember, I'm like, oh okay, yeah, that's crazy. There's like some pretty good fights. The
Yeah.
story gets more interesting because they do explore more about Chojin. So, you know, like it's not
Mhm.
just, oh, there's these things and that's it. You just accept
Yeah.
that it's a thing. There's no explanation.
Yeah.
Like they do try and explore and you do sort of learn a little bit more from what I remember. Obviously, I'm not up to date, so I don't know how far it's gotten
Mhm.
in the explanations, but like I learned a little bit more. So, you know,
Yeah.
I I
That's
don't fully know why they exist, but I know there's
get a bit
things
more
about them. Yeah.
backstory with it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Oh yeah. I'll continue reading for sure, and then maybe we'll get back to you on it eventually. When I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
jog my memory.
when a major thing happens around chapter 30, I'll hit you up with it. One last thing I wanted to mention before we probably close this episode out is like that. I think like was it one of the strongest Chojin that's on the good side at the moment is that hero guy, and I don't know if you remember him, and then but he's got that face where it's like he's a really really small face, like small face and like a
Yeah.
massive head,
Yeah.
and it kind of like reminds me. I don't. Do you remember Fairy Tale? You remember
Yeah.
many characters in Fairy Tale? There was that
Yeah.
one guild leader who's quite short and has blue hair. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he's
yeah,
might have
yeah.
been from
From
Burma.
the
Like
what's it? That guild of just like handsome dudes. It's almost like the host club one.
Yeah, like he completely reminds me of him. Just obviously like on a taller scale
Yeah.
and
I
more
know who you're talking.
heroic. But
I know exactly. I don't remember his name, but I know exactly who you're talking
nah,
about.
I don't. Yeah. Oh man, it just it gives you those kind of vibes. It's like, oh, it looks like him. Again, like I feel like these are definitely. It feels like it's leaning more towards comedic choices here because that you you wouldn't find anything like that kind of character design in Tokyo Ghoul.
I mean, who knows? Maybe after doing Tokyo Ghoul, like uh Ishida Sensei was just like, you know what? I just want to have a bit more fun.
Fuck it, more comedy, and arguably, I think it makes it a more well-rounded series. I think with those moments. So
It very well could be that, to be honest, because like sometimes when you do a thing and it's lasted a while and it has a certain tone, and then you just kind of like, I want to do something different now. You know?
100%, yeah, I completely agree. Like, and it makes it. It kind of feels like it's stepping up a little bit in those senses. But yeah, is there anything else you want to say about Choujin X before we wrap this up? I guess, Nathan.
No, I can't think of anything.
No. Fair enough, fair enough. But yeah, like I think in total, I have like as first time reader of this, I have really enjoyed it. And again, I can kind of see this getting an anime, like maybe not like this year, but maybe like in a couple years' time, maybe I could see this being animated. I feel like it has the potential to be. I reckon it could
It
probably
could
with the right
have a
studio
good
behind
one.
it as well. Yeah. I think it. You can see how it'd work as well. I think it'd be a smash hit if it did. And obviously with Ishida's name as well behind it, because I feel you can already see like the promo for it, like from the creator
Yeah.
of Tokyo Ghoul. You can already see that kind of stuff coming through, and that get
Well, that's
people
because
hyped for it. So.
that's already what it was. Even for just the
Yeah,
manga, it's already we're like, oh, the creator of Tokyo Ghoul.
it is. Yeah, it is completely that. So, and arguably, like I said this before as well, like for like something that really sells itself on like the creator of this, it holds up really well. I think so. But yeah, I'd just say like I think both of us come through and say we'd recommend this series. Like
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
really early on. Nathan has obviously stopped at
I've been
one
trying to
point, but
recommend it
yeah, yeah,
since the day, since the first day. I've been trying to recommend it,
yeah,
but
yeah. 100%. So, like, if you guys read it, let us know in the comments. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button for future Cultured Boys videos. Check the links in our description. We have all of our podcast platforms there. And we will see you guys next time for another Cultured Boys episode. Bye bye.
bye.